It is my great pleasure to introduce our graduation speaker, Harold Cox. Harold is a social worker and one who can show us just what social workers are capable of. He is the Associate Dean for Public Health Practice and an Associate Professor of Social and Behavioral Sciences at the Boston University School of Public Health. He has more than 25 years' experience in direct service administration and advocacy in a wide variety of public health care settings. Before joining BU, for example, he served for 10 years as the Chief Public Health Officer for the City of Cambridge and was responsible for managing all aspects of the city's health department. In that role, he helped local communities develop smoke-free policies and programs for emergency preparedness, homelessness, and domestic violence prevention. Associate Dean Cox currently chairs the statewide committee that is exploring new approaches for redesigning the local public health system in Massachusetts. He is the principal investigator and director of Partnership for Effective Emergency Response, known as PEER, bringing together more than 300 hospitals and health organizations to coordinate communications about emergency situations. Among his many accomplishments, he's the past president of the Massachusetts Public Health Association and of the Multicultural AIDS Coalition. He is the recipient of many awards, including the American Public Health Association's Romer Prize for Creative Local Public Health. I give you Harold Cox.
Good afternoon. When I first got my job at Boston University a few years ago, I called my father, who at the time was about 90 years old, and I said, "Dad, I just got a new gig at Boston University. I'm going to be the associate dean of the School of Public Health at Boston University." My father's a minister, and the next Sunday at church, he said, "My son is the dean of Boston University." So I said, okay. So a few years later, I took a year off to work at the Department of Public Health, and I called my father again, and I said, "Dad, I just got a job as a senior consultant to the Commissioner of Health for Massachusetts." The next Sunday, my father said, "My son is the Commissioner of Massachusetts." So, just for the fun of it, today, when I go home, I'm going to call my father and I'm going to say, "Dad, I'm applying for a job as a special advisor to the President of the United States. I'll let you and Mr. Obama know what he had to say." But irrespective of what I am called and what I've had the opportunity to do, it is a great honor for me to be here today and to be able to say congratulations to my new colleagues. I am so proud of you. On this day, I want you to know one thing. Just one thing, and that is that we need you. We need you. The people in this room, the people in this city, in this state, in this country, around this world, we need you. We need you as therapists, educators, clinicians, policy analysts, administrators, researchers, statisticians. Any statisticians in the room? Program coordinators, and so many other functions. As graduates, we need you to take your place next to other social work professionals who are running a whole wide variety of different kinds of activities. And especially, we need you to assist with those programs that provide a safety net to individuals and communities in need. And has been stated before, you will not get rich at this. However, we need you to understand that when you run these programs, that it is not enough just to maintain the status quo. We need you to create new programs when those are needed. We need you to challenge the system when it becomes too complacent. We need you to ask the hard questions, and then we need you to demand the appropriate answers. And sometimes, when we seem to be going in the wrong direction, when we seem to have gotten off course, we need you to help us get back on course. The greatest lesson that I ever had about this idea of getting back on course happened a little while ago when I was having a conversation with some friends of mine. We were driving in my car, Florence and Bonnie and I were driving in the car, and I was using my GPS system to help me to get where I needed to go. Now, those of you who know what a GPS is know that it's a little box in your car. It talks to you. It tells you where to go. It says turn left, turn right, keep straight. And if you let it, it will help you to get to exactly where you need to go. It will help you to get to your destination. Well, Bonnie and Florence and I were having a conversation. The GPS blurted out that I should turn to the right, and I actually didn't pay attention, and the next thing that I heard was recalculating. The box, the one in my car at least, always sounds angry, it sounds indignant, it sounds annoyed with me when I go the wrong way. It wants me to know that I messed up and that if I let it, it will help me to get back on course. It will help me to get where I need to go. So the GPS once again told me to turn to the right. And once again, I didn't do that, and it said, recalculating. What I know is that it is so very easy to lose track of where we're supposed to go. What I know is that sometimes it is all too easy not to realize that we have wandered off course. As I think about what this means for you as you graduate, we perhaps need you to be something like a GPS to help us get back on course in some major areas of our world. For instance, we need to get back in this country, we need to get back on course in our healthcare system to make certain that it treats everybody fairly and equitably. We have a sick GPS, and we have a healthy GPS, but we have a sick health system. And perhaps we need you as our GPS to actually scream recalculate the next time that a doctor says to a patient, I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, we can't do that particular procedure because your health insurance won't pay for it. Perhaps we need you to say, recalculate the next time that you hear about a 75-year-old man who has to decide how he's going to use his limited income and whether he's going to use it on food, on rent, or on medicine. We need you to say, recalculate the next time you hear about a high school graduate who stumbles over the words in the newspaper because that person did not learn how to read after 12 years of public school plus kindergarten. We need you to scream, recalculate the next time you hear about a woman who has been beaten up by her loving spouse. And perhaps for everyone in this room, we need you to scream, recalculate the next time you see a funeral procession passing by with a 17-year-old child who was beaten up and killed because some bully wanted his sneakers. Recalculate, recalculate, recalculate. These are just a few of the challenges that you will need to address. And I can promise you that none of these things will be easy, but we need you to use your new skills from this prestigious school of social work to work on these problems. Now, Your clinical skills, your program administration skills, your policy analysis skills are all very important. But there are a few other things that I think that you need to remember to think about as well. The first is that you need passion. This will help give you the drive. It will help make the difference for you. And I must tell you that with the kinds of things that you're going to be challenged with, it is absolutely necessary for you to have this conviction. And you must feel it in your fingers, in your toes, and in your heart. Then, it is important to listen to your clients and your patients. If you listen to them, they will tell you what they need and what's the best way to give them what they need. I am so annoyed when I hear about people who go into communities and they already know what the community needs before they get there. They already know how to give them what they need without asking those individuals, do you want it? What's the best way to give it to you? Is this the time for you to have it now? I hate to tell you this next one, but it's in my script. You will make mistakes. I guarantee it. And when you do, just pull up your big girl panties and just keep going. Then, remember to thank others. You didn't get here by yourselves, and I guarantee you that there are very few things that you will actually do by yourself. Remember to thank others. And start right now by thanking the people who have supported you, who have nurtured you, and who have cared for you through this program. Remember to keep learning. You don't know it all. I know that a lot of you have made a lot of A's during this period of time, but I guarantee you, you don't know it all. Keep learning. I have decided in my own life that I need to learn how to speak Spanish. So I've been spending a lot of time down in Ecuador and doing a number of other things to help me speak Spanish. I can now say, ¿Dónde está la tortuga? Which is, where is the turtle? Now, I live in Boston, and there are really not a lot of reasons to say that, but I can say it, and eventually I will be able to say more. Keep learning. And then once in a while, you will need to remind yourself why you are doing this work. You will need a story that reminds you why it is important that you do the work, what it is that you have this passion about. I have a story, and my story helps to refresh my memory about why I do the work that I do. Here's my story. A while back, I took a trip to Atlanta on a plane that was completely full. And unfortunately, it meant that I had a middle seat. So, that meant people were all around me. And on top of that, I was surrounded by toddlers and their parents. So there was one on my left, there was one on my right, there was one in front of me, there was one behind me, and there was one to spare on the aisle next to me. I love children, but this was going to be a little complicated and a little rough in being on an airplane for 3 hours with a lot of children. The child on my right kept thumping on my chest. His mother would reposition him, but he would find me again, and he would just start thumping on my chest. The child on my left wanted me to have everything that he had. He wanted me to have his little car, he wanted me to have his juice, he wanted me to have his pretzels, and his mother put him on the floor, and he would crawl, and then suddenly he would just pop up between my legs, and it was quite something. During this whole time, kids screamed, parents were exasperated, and I counted the seconds. I finally decided that I should just try to keep my eyes closed, and just to get away from it all, but then there he was. So I decided to just open my eyes and just take it all in. And what I saw was, when I paid attention to this little chest thumper next to me, was a cute little black boy who had a very big head. And I am pretty sure, at least I hope, that I looked like him when I was his age. I could imagine that he had little tiny eyeglasses. I could also imagine that my little chest thumper also had a family that was very much like mine. I have brothers and sisters and parents and cousins. I have lots of cousins. And like lots of Southern black families, I don't know any of their given names. When one of my older cousins died, I was surprised to learn that her name was Elizabeth, because I knew her as Sister Baby. And her family included Big Mama, Big Papa, Little Brother, Aunt Little Sister, Precious, Uncle Shotgun, and Bubba. It's true. Anyway, I don't know any of their names, and I was pretty certain the same was probably true for my little friend. I could imagine that my little friend also came from a neighborhood where it was challenged with poverty and gangs and drugs, and where his mother was very concerned about what would happen to him when he went outside to play, or when he went to school, or when she sent him to the store. I assumed that my little friend had a father who experienced many of the things that other black men experience. And if you don't have an idea of what that might be, let me share a couple of things with you. Some people see black men walking towards them on the sidewalk, and what do? They walk on the other side of the street. Some people see us when they're sitting in their cars, and what do? They lock their doors and they roll up their windows. When we hail a cab, the cabbies speed up. Some people expect that we will not succeed in school. In fact, they expect that we will fail at absolutely everything except basketball and football. We are expected to die from all kinds of diseases, and if that doesn't happen, we are expected to die from some kind of gunshot wound. This is enough to make everyone in this particular room crazy. But through it all, I am certain that this little boy's father went to work every day, and that he had the dream that things would be very different for his son when he grew up. I am absolutely certain that this is not what you expected to hear today at graduation. But this is the reality of what this little boy sitting next to me experiences. And it is the kind of thing that I have to remind myself when I think about why I do the work that I do. It's the kind of thing that I need to remind myself when I say, I wonder why I'm doing this. I have to remember this little boy. I have to remember all of the children and the parents that were sitting around me. I have to remember my father, who is now 97 years old. I have to remember my neighbors. I have to remember my cousins. I have to remember my nieces and my nephews and all of their friends. I have to remember that all of them deserve to live happy, healthy, and safe lives. And I have to remember that I am fortunate enough to have skills that will ensure that they can. This is my story. But it is time for you to also have a story as well. Your story will remind you why it is important for you to struggle through one more meeting, to have one more session with a difficult client, to write one more grant application, to go to one more long community meeting. And your story will also remind you why you feel good about the work that you do, why you feel the passion to work even harder, why you have the desire to tell everybody, anybody about the work that you do. Your story will help you to understand why you must go to work early in the morning and why you must come home late in the evening. Your story will help you to understand why it is essential and critical that you are social workers. Your story will help you to understand why it is worth it, and your story will help you to understand why we need you. And if you still have questions about who needs you, remember that the list includes tall ones, short ones, fat ones, skinny ones, black ones, white ones, brown, red, yellow ones, Methodist, Baptist, Catholic, Buddhist, Jews, Mormons, atheists, businesses, artists, medics, educators, the rich, homeless, gays, lesbians, Democrats, Republicans, libertarians, and the undecided. Today is a wonderful day. This graduation is the end of an incredible experience that you have had here at the Boston University School of Social Work, and it is the beginning of the next phase of your life. So, as you walk out of here today, remember that the world is in your hands now. Hold it. Shape it. Own it. And in the words of that social commentator, RuPaul, don't screw it up. Congratulations.